Greetings once again, Orphanites. Welcome back to the filmmaking vlog here at the orphanmovie.com. I am, as always, your host. I'm afraid I don't have my guest with me this time. It's just me solo again, so hopefully y'all enjoyed that. Got a little bit of information that maybe you didn't have before, and learned a little bit of something about what we got in mind as far as doing the movie itself. And I know I learned a couple things I didn't know, but hopefully you did too. Anyways, we'll get started here. Don't really have anything new to share. We're still in limbo on a lot of things. We still got churning in the background, and so there's not any big news. But what I want to talk about this time is, once again, something that's not necessarily specifically filmmaking oriented, but it is related to the film, of course. And that is kind of the process that we've been going through from the start and to the point we're at now. I don't know how many of you are involved in filmmaking or photography, theater, any other creative type endeavor, whether it's maybe doing needlepoint or quilt making, scrapbooking, anything that involves some kind of creative process. But something that's been really coming to mind more and more for me recently is the way that the creative process for this just seems to be ongoing. It never stops. Whenever I first had the idea for the movie, I thought, oh, well, it's going to be going from point A to point B to point C to point B, and it was going to be pretty straightforward. And instead, as we've gone along, I've found that it's going to point A and then going to point A1 and then to point A 1.5 and then to point B and then so on like that. There's been a lot of zigs and zags I didn't expect along the way, and it just seems that the process itself never really stops. Whenever I finally decided on a storyline, for instance, for the movie, I had a few different ideas. The original story I was going to go with, I decided against for a couple of different reasons. The actual meat of that storyline is still the meat of the story we're going to be telling now. It's like the story's never really set. Just recently, for instance, there's been a couple of things that have come to mind that, oh, well, I think I should word that this way instead of the way I have now. And there was a couple of things that, as far as when we actually shoot, that I realized, well, if we do it this way, it's going to be more difficult. We're going to have these different problems it's going to be bringing up for us. And I realized, well, if we do it this way instead, hey, it solves those problems. I think it actually works better. And it's just really been on my mind a lot, the way that a lot of this changes. For instance, the locations. I think I've told you before about the original place I wanted to shoot was the location that actually was the inspiration for the idea for the story. And things didn't work out as far as that, so we had to shift direction. Okay, well, let's go here, and okay, well, let's go there instead. And it's just absolutely not a linear process, and that's kind of taken me about a little bit by surprise, I guess. Even now, as far as locations, there's a couple of locations that I've thought about recently this last week, and it's like, okay, well, majority of what we're shooting is going to be at this place, and this other place that we were going to be doing a lot of our shooting originally, I've just got really 2 shots that need to be done there now. So it's like, well, shouldn't I look for a place where we're going to be doing a majority of our filming now to replace those shots so we can do everything here instead of having to go here and here. And this stuff just never really seems to stop. It's like there's a part of my brain that's always working in the background, like on your computer, there's your firewall. You don't really think about the firewall. You don't really pay attention to the firewall, but it's always there. It's always doing something. It's, especially when you're online, it's not going to let this information through, but it's going to let this information through, and that sort of thing. And like I said, you just don't think about it, but it's always there. And this process has been a lot like that too. there's been more than a couple of times I've been sitting at work, and the job I do, we recently especially had a lot of work. I've been putting in a lot of hours, and yet I'll be sitting there working away, and all of a sudden there's this idea that just jumps to the front of my head. Hey, that's a great idea. And of course, there's nothing I can do about it because I'm at work. But it's like, okay, I've got to, remember. I got to later on. I got to do something about that. I got to write this down, something like that. Some kind of change I want to talk to my, the other people involved in the movie about. And sometimes the ideas aren't so great. There's this one that I had a couple of months ago that was, I wasn't in love with the idea, but it presented an opportunity to what I feel like added to the story and gave one of the characters a little more meat as far as their role. And I realized it could complicate things a little bit. There's a couple of things that I thought might give away that I was not wanting to give away. And fortunately, I talked to my wife, Katie, about it and presented the idea to her. And she was like, well, no, it's not really such a great idea, and here's why. And after getting her perspective, I realized, yeah, that's right. It's really the concerns I had about doing it, hearing it from another person just confirmed those. It was an idea that I liked, but then again, like I said, wasn't 100% with. And hearing someone else say, no, I don't think you should do that, convinced me that, yeah, you're right. And there's a lot of things like that. There's a couple of, excuse me, other things that just in this last week, there's a couple of ideas that I came up with as far as some stunts that we're going to be doing. And it's been a concern for me because I want everything to be as safe as possible. I want my cast to be safe. I don't want anybody getting hurt. And the stunts we were going to be doing presented us with a couple of problems in the way that we were going to be able to pull the stunt off. It presented a little bit of a dangerous situation. I mean, not something that, definitely someone's going to get hurt, but there was a stronger possibility. And with the new way I came up with to do those, I bounced the ideas off Jacob, and he said, yeah, that's really a good idea because it works so much better, and it actually simplifies what we're going to be doing. So that's all I really wanted to share with y'all. Is the way that just really strikes me that it's just really, like I said, just really struck me as odd and a little bit surprising that this isn't a linear process, that it's ongoing. It seems like it never stops. And it kind of makes you think, especially like a painter. How does a painter get a painting and go, okay, this is what I was going for? I mean, like the Mona Lisa, how did, was there a couple of places along the way that went, oh yeah, this is perfect. Oh no, wait, I need to add this. Where did you get to that point where you go, okay, this is it? And I don't know that you ever actually do. Because like I said, I've arrived at that point a couple of times and realized, no, that's not the stopping point. There's further we need to go. We need to keep going ahead with this. And it's going to be interesting once we get into production, I think, and see how that comes up, and how it's going to affect the final product. Anyways, that's all I have for this time around. Contact us at our email, realorphanmovie@gmail.com. Of course, our social media is The Orphan Movie. That's on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And the website is theorphanmovie.com. And like I said, we have the email list that you can sign up for there now. Just go to the contact page, fill out the form, and whatever random stuff we come up with that we want to share with you, we'll send out. It won't be on a regular basis, but it'll be stuff that we think you might find interesting as we do. Anyways, that's all we have for this time around, and we'll see you next week.